Hey all. This is 6-Path Weeb, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, we're diving into part 3 of our epic fanfic, Naruko Gets Predator Stealth and Weapons. Things are about to get even more intense, so get ready for some serious action and suspense. Disclaimer, the content on this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. Alright guys, let's jump right in. Hokage's office. Naruko entered the Hokage's office quietly through the window, her figure cloaked and silent as she patiently waited to see how long it would take the 5th Hokage to notice her presence. For over a week now, she had repeated this little game, amused each time by Lady Tsunade's startled reactions. The Hokage had tried yelling, swatting at her, even tossing nearby objects out of frustration. Naruko still found it entertaining. And here she was again. Naruko, if that's you, you better drop that invisibility trick of yours, or I'm going to make you regret it, Tsunade called out, clearly suspecting it was either Naruko or Jiraiya pulling another prank. Naruko remained silent, enjoying the moment. Watching Tsunade mutter about mischievous shinobi made her grin beneath her mask. She crept behind the Hokage and gave her chair a sudden jolt. Your awareness skills could use some improvement, Naruko teased, as Tsunade jumped out of her seat and immediately dropped into a defensive stance. She relaxed after realizing who it was. Naruko. You've got to stop doing that, Tsunade exclaimed, rubbing her temples. Then maybe stay on your guard a little more, Naruko replied, letting out a soft chuckle. You're going to be the end of my patience, I swear, said Tsunade, reaching for a bottle of non-alcoholic sake and taking a calming sip. Only if that bottle doesn't get to you first, Naruko said, waiting until Tsunade was seated again. Alright, enough with the banter. I called you here for a mission of great importance. I think you already have a good idea what it is, Tsunade said seriously. Hunting down the remaining members of the Akatsuki, Naruko answered without hesitation. She had been ready for this. Correct. The council originally wanted to send you on a diplomatic journey to Kumo and then to Iwa. But I put my foot down. The Akatsuki are too dangerous, and you're the best chance we have at ending their operations before they escalate, Tsunade said firmly. They always seem more concerned with politics and profits than protecting the village, Naruko responded, taking the mission scroll Tsunade handed over. It listed all known members of the Akatsuki, intelligence gathered by Jiraiya's network. Tsunade's expression softened at Naruko's words. She watched as the young kunoichi approached the window and vanished once again, cloaking herself as she leapt into the afternoon sky. She would never get used to that. Namikaze Estate, sometime later. So. You're being sent on a long-term mission to hunt the Akatsuki, Hinata said gently. Naruko nodded, noticing the disappointment in her friend's eyes. During Naruko's time back in the village, she had reconnected with the rookie teams and most of their former senseis, except for a few who chose to keep their distance. Kurenai had initially been upset at Naruko for taking Hinata away during her training period. But once Naruko explained what happened after her exile and how she was transformed by the experiences she endured, most of them came to understand. When asked about her enhanced abilities, Naruko explained she had developed a unique sensory skill, something like a bloodline limit, that allowed her to track targets by detecting their body heat. She said it also helped her see through deception during interrogations. Some doubted it. Kiba, for example, challenged her claim by making a bold, and clearly exaggerated, statement. Naruko calmly exposed the lie, prompting a round of laughter when Ino and Tenten playfully scolded him. I know this mission pulls me away from you again, Naruko said softly as she embraced Hinata from behind, but I promise I'll return. We'll make up for all the time we've missed. Hinata blushed from the hug, her heart aching but hopeful. I wish I could go with you. I wish the same, Naruko replied, but when I return, I plan to leave this place behind. I want to start fresh, with you, somewhere peaceful. Maybe spring country. How does that sound? Hinata turned around, surprised, her eyes welling with happy tears. Really? You're serious? Naruko nodded, and Hinata hugged her tightly, overjoyed. I can't wait, Hinata whispered. That sounds wonderful. We still have tonight, Naruko said with a warm smile. Let's make the most of it. Border of fire and wind countries, days later. This is so frustrating. Why are we walking all the way to Suna? Deidara complained. You know why, Sasori replied calmly. If we travel by air, we risk being detected by the one tracking us. You mean the so-called hunter? Please. If Itachi and Kisame lost, it's only because they got careless. I could handle her easily, Datara scoffed. Be careful what you say, came a voice from the treetops. Both Akatsuki members froze as a cloaked figure descended from the canopy. Naruko emerged, focused and silent, holding a slender staff in her hand. They dodged as she struck with precision, her weapon aimed to incapacitate rather than harm unnecessarily. Datara reached for his clay pouch while Sasori summoned several puppets to overwhelm her. Naruko moved swiftly, hurling her staff to pin one puppet to a tree. She then released a spinning shuriken that curved through the air toward Datara. It didn't reach his head, but clipped his arm instead. It was a warning. The hunt had begun. She got my ring arm, exclaimed Datara, wincing as he narrowly dodged the returning weapon. He had intended to grab it, but its trajectory forced him to leap back to avoid further injury. Meanwhile, Sasori was on the move, jumping away from a barrage of chakra-infused blasts coming from a strange device mounted on Naruko's shoulders. He had already experienced a few close calls. His puppets, unfortunately, hadn't been as lucky, they had been destroyed due to his underestimation of Naruko. Now, he was left to face the determined Kunoichi with only Datara for backup, who was already hurt. For the first time, the puppet master fully understood why Itachi and Kisame had been defeated by this young hunter. How does it feel to be the one being hunted now? Naruko said with a calm confidence behind her mask. Not so fun being the smaller player in this game of hunter and fox, is it? Especially when the fox has more than just claws. She caught the shuriken that had returned to her hand, and in a swift, unexpected motion, hurled it toward Sasori. The puppet master couldn't escape in time. The weapon struck its mark with precision, disabling Sasori's puppet body with a clean hit. You'll pay for that. Datara growled. I was saving this for Itachi someday, but since he's gone, you'll be the one to experience my greatest artistic creation. But before Datara could act, Naruko swiftly retrieved her combi stick and dashed toward him, moving faster than he could react. Art takes many forms, said Naruko as she struck Datara with expert precision, using her combi stick to disarm and knock him off balance. And I, too, am an artist, of strategy and skill. As Datara fell to the ground, stunned, he tried to create one final explosive using his remaining hand. Naruko spotted the movement and quickly intervened, disarming him and rendering him unconscious. These rings will make better keepsakes than any trophy, Naruko murmured, calmly retrieving the ring from Datara, and another from Sasori's puppet hand. With her mission complete, Naruko cloaked herself and tossed a chakra-enhanced tag onto the ground. Moments later, a large, controlled explosion echoed in the distance as she vanished from the area. Border of fire and lightning country, 2 weeks later. I really wish you wouldn't say those intense prayers before every mission, said Kakuzu, watching his partner kneeling in quiet devotion. You could show some respect, replied Hidan, calmly continuing his prayer. This is sacred time for me. Before either could react further, Naruko appeared beside Kakuzu with a flash of motion, her wrist blades already drawn. With precision, she delivered a calculated strike that left Kakuzu temporarily disabled. That was unexpected, Kakuzu muttered, feeling the impact disrupt his internal systems. Exactly as intended, said Naruko, then turned toward Hidan, who was now brandishing his large scythe. You can't defeat me, Hidan said with certainty. I'm protected by the will of Jashin. Even if you managed to stop me, I would still rise. History has shown that anyone can be challenged if you're clever enough, said Naruko as she drew her sword in one hand while keeping her wrist blades ready on the other. The two clashed in a fast-paced battle, steel meeting steel, with Naruko using agility and strategy to her advantage. Kakuzu, still recovering from the earlier hit, stayed back, unwilling to intervene in his current condition. You're not bad, Hidan admitted as they fought. It's unfortunate I can't offer you as a tribute. You'd be a remarkable offering. And it's unfortunate I can't keep your scythe as a souvenir, replied Naruko as she expertly caught Hidan's weapon between her blades, then struck with her sword to disarm him completely. Ah! What do you think you're doing? Hidan cried as he stumbled backward, only to be pinned to a tree by a net that tightened and restricted his movement. Don't blame the hunter, said Naruko. Blame the prey. She retrieved the ring and his weapon, watching as Hidan continued to speak even after being separated from his limbs. Still active despite the situation, he ranted loudly as Naruko calmly began securing the scene. Pulling out a specially sealed canister, Naruko poured a dissolving agent, one designed to neutralize chakra-bound remnants, onto the restrained opponent. His words turned to cries and then silence as the solution completed its work, ensuring the target was neutralized without excessive force. Her attention now shifted to Kakuzu. With Kakuzu. Scene continues. Outskirts of a small town. The rogue ninja spotted the town in the distance and grinned, his thoughts filled with twisted excitement over the idea of collecting new organs to prolong his already extended lifespan. As a former waterfall ninja, what truly irritated him was that his partner had yet to return. By now, he expected his religious comrade to have completed his battle against the QB host and returned to assist in their mysterious rituals. Kakuzu's musings were interrupted when a sudden, sharp sensation ran through him. One of his remaining hearts was forcefully removed. It had been struck and pinned to a tree with a combi weapon belonging to the very shinobi he was thinking about. His eyes narrowed as he turned around to find Naruko standing calmly, her scythe slung over her back. Although her mask concealed her face, the red glow in her eye lenses hinted at a confident smile underneath. "I didn't expect you to retreat so easily," said Naruko coolly, observing Kakuzu as he eyed his heart, now lodged in the tree, before glancing back at her. "I'm not running," Kakuzu replied with an air of calm. "I just believe in preserving what remains of me. You've already damaged most of my core systems. Is it so wrong to want a bit more time before we finish this?" Naruko's eyes narrowed as she readied her weapons. "Yes. A true shinobi finishes what they start, and I haven't completed my mission until I secure what I came for." Kakuzu nodded and shifted into a combat stance, matching her resolve. "If that were true for me, I would have kept trying to confront the first Hokage, even after my initial failure," Kakuzu replied as he lunged forward with impressive speed. Naruko leapt back, evading the attack, and countered with a flurry of shuriken. Kakuzu's years of experience gave him confidence in close combat, but what he hadn't anticipated was how Naruko welcomed the proximity. It gave her the opportunity to strike with her wrist blades, piercing through yet another of his hearts. Only his instincts allowed him to escape with at least one still intact. Dodging to the side, he avoided a blade that left a deep slash across his chest. But the spinning shuriken that followed caught him off guard, severing part of his arm before returning to Naruko, who swiftly collapsed it into a compact disc for storage. Kakuzu realized the gravity of his situation. This was the most vulnerable he had ever been. And as one of Naruko's chakra-based weapons on her shoulder began to hum with energy, glowing with a faint crimson hue, he could do little more than brace himself. A powerful surge of energy shot forth, overwhelming what remained of Kakuzu's defenses. With the task complete, Naruko calmly approached him and removed a ring from his hand before using a special solvent on his body, ensuring it could not be used again for any nefarious purpose. It was necessary, especially with how certain members of Akatsuki claimed to achieve artificial immortality. Only a few members remained now. And Naruko was determined to finish what she had started. Hidden Leaf Village, Secret Meeting Room. "We must take action. The Jinchuriki is beyond our control now that Danzo is no longer with us," said Homura, speaking with a tone of concern. Alongside Koharu and a few remaining members of the civilian council, he was attending an urgent meeting. "What about Danzo's root operatives? Surely they would still follow our lead?" asked Haruno Toshi, who had long since advised his daughter to avoid associating with the Jinchuriki, regardless of her heritage. "They might. But they're hesitant to act directly against the Hokage. She has gained overwhelming support, and the Fire Daimyo has stripped away much of the council's influence over the years. If we want to undermine her, we must take away her strength, her hope," said Koharu firmly, convinced that she understood village leadership better than Tsunade ever could. "But with the Jinchuriki's current abilities, we may not be able to intervene. She's been eliminating Akatsuki members one after another, and even though we secretly leaked her mission to them, they haven't succeeded in stopping her," said another council member. "Perhaps, but you forget, Akatsuki members are extremely powerful missing nin. If anyone can defeat her, it's them," said Homura, holding on to that hope. "And even if they fail, their efforts will weaken her enough for our hidden operatives to strike when she returns," added Koharu. "We've stationed loyal agents around Konoha to act swiftly before the Hokage can intervene." None of them noticed the small fly perched silently in a corner of the room. Unlike an ordinary insect, this was a special creation of the Aburame clan, used for confidential reconnaissance on behalf of the Hokage. The fly left just as quietly as it had arrived. Soon, its findings would reach Tsunade. Ame Village, 5 days later. "We have a situation, Pain-sama," said the white half of Zetsu, appearing before Pain and Konan with an anxious expression. "Yes, we do," said the dark half. "All of the others are gone." "What? How?" asked Konan, visibly surprised. "It was the Kyubi vessel. She tracked them down one by one, taking their rings and even keeping Hidan's scythe," the dark half explained. We examined the aftermath. The areas where they fell were completely cleared. It was like they had been erased, added the white half, his voice trembling slightly. Erased? Pain murmured. He turned to Conan. We will handle this ourselves. Locate her base, we need those rings. How do we even find her? Asked Conan quietly, unsure if they stood a chance. Pain answered gravely, we don't need to search. She's already here. Conan's eyes widened in alarm. Do you think she knows about your true form? She asked. Pain was about to respond when he suddenly dropped to his knees, gripping his chest in shock. Pain-sama, cried both halves of Zetsu in unison. She's here. She found my true body, stop her, Conan, Pain gasped, moments before his body went still. No, Conan cried out, realizing what had happened. She loved him, came a calm voice. Naruko appeared, her presence composed yet commanding. She had sent a clone to track Pain's true form and strike precisely. He was like a puppet master, Naruko added. But the strings are cut now. I won't forgive you, Conan shouted, tears streaming down her cheeks as she launched a barrage of paper weapons, only for them to pass through a clone. Naruko reappeared beside her. He was planning to harm others I care about. I couldn't allow that. That doesn't give you the right. Conan argued, crafting a sword from paper, only to have Naruko stop her mid-charge with a calm but firm hand. I'm not like Danzo, Naruko said softly. And I dealt with him for the damage he caused. I never wanted to fight you. But your leader endangered lives by trying to capture and exploit people like me. What right did he have? Conan trembled, her resolve shaken. This was never about peace, Naruko continued. It was about control. Real peace isn't built on fear, it's built on understanding. Conan looked away, defeated and conflicted. Zetsu, meanwhile, debated whether to flee or stay. Stay back, warned Naruko, turning toward him with calm determination. Yeah. What she said, added the darker side of Zetsu. Then hand over your ring, and I'll leave, said Naruko calmly. She knew the rings were essential to the Akatsuki's plans, and taking even one would hinder their operations. Besides, Zetsu didn't seem like someone who needed to be pursued further. Just give her the ring. The dark half urged the white half of Zetsu. All right. It's stuck, hold on. Muttered the white half, fumbling with the ring before finally removing it and tossing it toward Naruko. Without hesitation, Zetsu quickly disappeared. Now yours, said Naruko, turning to face the woman on the ground, who was quietly weeping. Please. Just end this, said Conan softly, slowly removing her ring and placing it beside Naruko's foot. Why? Naruko asked, tilting her head slightly as she looked down at Conan's tearful face. Why? Because you took away someone I deeply cared for. He gave me strength to keep going after Jiraiya of the Sannin taught us how to survive when we were young, Conan replied, her voice filled with emotion. She felt lost without the person she had devoted herself to, the one whose dreams she had once shared. Naruko remained quiet for a moment before picking up the ring. She turned away and began to walk off. Why? Why are you letting me go? Conan asked, her voice trembling. Because you're different from the others in this group. You didn't join for power or personal gain. I see hope in your heart, not darkness. That alone makes you worth saving. The people in your village will look to you, even after they learn Pain is gone. That's your path now, to guide and protect them. They are your precious ones now. Live for them. If for no other reason, said Naruko gently, leaving Conan to reflect on her words. Wait. There's someone else you need to know about before this is truly over, Conan called out, her voice urgent. She felt Naruko needed to be prepared for what was still to come. Who is it? Naruko asked, stopping and turning slightly toward her. He's the true mastermind behind the Akatsuki. The one who brought us together with promises of fulfilling our dreams. His name is Uchiha Madara, Conan revealed, her tone serious. At that name, Naruko's expression shifted, her fists clenched tightly as a wave of emotion swept through her. He's the reason I turned against the Leaf Village. The one behind all your struggles. Echoed the voice of the Nine Tails inside Naruko, filled with rage and frustration. Naruko took a deep breath, steadying herself. Thank you for telling me this. Perhaps, one day, we'll meet again under better circumstances. And maybe even as friends, Naruko said gently, before continuing on her way, leaving Conan to stand and consider her next steps. Naruko moved swiftly from branch to branch, her movements fluid and silent, a skill perfected through years of training. She was on the trail of the last and most elusive member of the Akatsuki organization. It was no easy task. Madara Uchiha had remained hidden in the shadows for over a century since his last known encounter with the first Hokage. But Naruko, with her sharpened senses and the guidance of the nine-tailed fox within her, could detect the unique energy signature Madara left behind. "She's close. I can feel it," said Kurama, his voice filled with unease, sensing the powerful chakra that still lingered ahead. "Stay calm, Kurama," thought Naruko, her mind focused. "If your emotions spike, your chakra will react, and Madara will sense us. We need to stay steady. You have the strength to resist it. You're more than just power, you're a living being with a will of your own." "I know. It's just. Memories of him bring up a lot of emotion. But I'll manage," Kurama replied, his tone more composed now as he worked to steady himself alongside his host. "He's just a memory waiting to be erased from history," thought Naruko as her visor lit up, indicating someone nearby. The energy trail aligned with what she had been tracking. She had arrived. "This is it," said Kurama with a confident smile from within. "Uchiha Madara." Naruko called, her voice firm yet composed, echoing through the trees as she stood perched, cloaked and ready. From across the clearing, a figure rose from the shadows and removed his mask. Madara stepped forward with a calm demeanor, revealing his face for the first time. "So, you've come at last. Why not step into the light?" said Madara, watching as Naruko moved effortlessly to a higher branch, now fully visible. "Is this enough for you?" Naruko asked, meeting his gaze without fear. "Not quite. You may have uncovered some truths, but your companion inside won't be able to intervene. You're alone, Namikaze," said Madara, referring to the legacy Naruko carried with her. Naruko smiled slightly and removed her mask, letting it fall to the forest floor. "How long have you known who I was?" she asked. "Since the day of the sealing. It wasn't hard to see you were his child. I imagine the village knew too, but for their own reasons, they kept it quiet. Perhaps they didn't understand what he wanted for you," Madara said knowingly, referencing the difficult life she had endured. "I see. And yet, you never tried to stop me. You knew removing me would release Kurama, but by then, he was no longer under your influence. I assume you didn't have the strength to repeat what you once did," Naruko said calmly. "The statue was your backup plan, wasn't it? Just in case things didn't go your way." Madara's expression remained composed, though his pride was evident. "That's correct. Whenever I tried to control Kurama, it took a toll on me, especially after my battle with the first Hokage. It took years to recover. In the meantime, I made preparations. I manipulated situations from the shadows, using the Sharingan to influence key individuals and stir unrest. I created conflict between clans, offered forbidden knowledge to those with ambition, and weakened each village through subtle manipulation," he explained, recounting his long-standing strategy. "I even guided Uchiha Itachi when the time came to prevent the coup within the Uchiha clan, an act meant to prevent greater chaos, though the cost was high," he added, his tone not boasting, but reflective. Naruko narrowed her eyes, her expression serious but composed. "There is much you must take responsibility for, Uchiha Madara," she said, stepping forward and revealing her weapons, not as a sign of aggression, but as a symbol of readiness to face the truth and bring closure to everything that had led to this moment. "I'm sure many would see me differently if they knew the truth about my actions across the elemental nations," said Madara with unwavering confidence. "But I am immortal. That means I cannot be harmed in the way others can. I cannot fall." "Brave words from someone who seems quite concerned about the idea of loss," said Naruko, letting out a calm, almost amused laugh, which only made Madara's expression tighten. "I fear nothing," Madara snapped, his unique eyes glowing with power as Naruko's grin grew wider. "Such pride. No wonder the first Hokage was able to overcome you," Naruko replied, watching the annoyance flicker across Madara's face, reminding her of someone else she knew well. "When I'm finished defeating you, Namikaze, I'll use my eyes to influence your mind, just like I did with the Nine Tails. Then you'll turn against everything you care for in the elemental nations, starting with your closest friend." "What was her name again?" "Hyuga Hinata?" Madara said with a smirk. Naruko's energy suddenly surged, the air around her shimmering as her powerful chakra erupted in response, her focus now fully on the opponent in front of her. "Let's see if your confidence still holds after this," Naruko said, both of them launching forward with incredible speed, sparks flying as their powers clashed in a battle worthy of legends. Dash. Back in Konoha. Lady Tsunade, the fifth Hokage, was furious, and rightly so. Aburame Shino had just informed her of disturbing rumors overheard by his insects. People within the village were plotting against her goddaughter, Naruko. Tsunade clenched her fists. She had sent Naruko on a dangerous mission against the Akatsuki, and now that same mission would leave her vulnerable to betrayal. It's time they remembered who they're dealing with, not just Naruko, but me as well, she thought. Without hesitation, she summoned Yugao and her loyal Onbu team. You called, Hokage-sama? Yugao asked through her Onbu mask. Bring in every loyal Onbu operative immediately. And find Jiraiya. Tell him I need him here at once, it's urgent. I have a mission that requires the utmost secrecy and loyalty. This is to protect the future of the Leaf, Tsunade ordered. Just then, Shizune entered the office, sensing the tension. Tsunade-sama, what's happening? There's a plan being set into motion by some members of the council. They intend to ambush Naruko upon her return, using the last of Danzo's secret forces. They think they can manipulate events from the shadows. But I won't let them harm her, not while I can still stand and fight, Tsunade said firmly. What about the Rookie 9? And Guy's team? They'd want to help, Shizune suggested. That's a great idea. Bring them here. They've always stood by Naruko, they deserve a chance to show that loyalty now. Within the hour, the trusted shinobi of Konoha were gathered, and Tsunade shared everything. The revelation stunned them all. Naruko had been exiled, treated unfairly, and now faced more betrayal? Unacceptable. When do we start? Asked Kiba, stepping forward with determination. He'd always viewed Hinata like a sister, and protecting the one she cared about most was the least he could do. Immediately, Tsunade declared. Jiraiya has the toads tracking down every rogue agent involved. Find them. Neutralize them. Bring them in safely if possible. Go. As the shinobi took off, Tsunade allowed herself a small smile. Naruko wasn't alone. Not anymore. Meanwhile, Naruko and Madara. Naruko's arm pulsed with energy, slowly healing as chakra surged from the 9 tails. Madara, too, bore signs of the intense battle, favoring one leg after a powerful strike. Both warriors had tested the limits of their abilities, neither giving an inch. Naruko now understood why the first Hokage had faced such a challenge with Madara. His strength was overwhelming, his skill undeniable. Yet so was hers. Their powers clashed like thunder, with Madara reading her movements through his Sharingan. Naruko, however, had trained to overcome those very eyes, watching the subtle shifts in his aura and energy, allowing her to react in time. They were evenly matched. You're stronger than I expected, Naruko. Honestly, I almost didn't let you live when you were born, said Madara. Naruko narrowed her eyes. What did you just say? Your mother was the vessel of the 9 tails. I had searched for the beast for a long time and discovered it had been sealed within her. The seal weakened during your birth, making the beast's power unstable. Your mother did the unthinkable to protect you, Madara explained, stepping forward again. She released the fox hoping it would stop me. She didn't know the Sharingan had the power to control it. Your father realized what was happening and stepped in. The rest. Well, you know the story, Madara finished, his smile unshaken. Naruko's fury ignited as she pushed forward, her attacks fast and fierce. Madara's eyes struggled to keep up. For the first time, he was on the defensive. Madara attempted to use his powers again, but Naruko was ready. The unique seal within her protected her from his influence, and soon, she had him cornered. Forced to retreat, Madara vanished with his teleportation technique, just barely avoiding the blow. The tree behind him, however, was completely obliterated. Forget trophies. I don't need symbols of victory. Proving you can be defeated is all the satisfaction I need, said Naruko, adjusting her mask as she unleashed a powerful roar and hurled a shuriken with pinpoint precision. Madara barely dodged, the battle far from over. The Uchiha had to swiftly leap across the battlefield, avoiding the bursts of glowing red chakra launching from the cannons mounted on Naruko's shoulders. Dodging them was no easy feat. Madara could sense that Naruko's goal was clear. She wanted to close the distance and engage him at close range with her energy blades. She's skilled, Madara mused. Clearly, the chakra spirit within her hasn't overwhelmed her sense of self. Even when its power is briefly suppressed, the daughter of the Namikaze shows incredible resilience. He heard a familiar sound behind him and turned to see Naruko spinning, glowing shuriken returning like a boomerang. He narrowly avoided it, springing into the air just as it swept past where he had stood. That was the moment Naruko had been waiting for. As Madara landed, Naruko adjusted her targeting system and launched a precise strike at the ground near him, disrupting his footing. The unexpected tactic caught Madara off guard, as he hadn't fully grasped the variety of tools Naruko had mastered. In the world of shinobi, after all, the unknown was always a challenge to overcome. Using the distraction to her advantage, Naruko stored her shuriken and brought out her kombi stick, its polished metal reflecting the light around them. She hurled it with precision, striking Madara's arm and knocking him back. In one smooth move, she stepped forward and placed her armored boot lightly against his chest to halt his movement. Madara Uchiha. Do you fear the end of this fight? Naruko asked, her voice calm as she drew her blade once more and held it near his shoulder. No. I don't. Just like your father, Madara replied, eyes locked with hers, determined. The red lenses of Naruko's mask briefly flickered, and with a graceful movement, she lowered her blade, choosing to end the battle through restraint rather than force. You are not like him, Naruko said quietly. You walk a different path. With that, she stepped back, signaling that the fight was over. Konoha, 1 week later. Naruko returned to her secluded operations center after the mission. There, she carefully organized the items recovered from the members of the Akatsuki she had tracked down, each ring secured, each artifact catalogued and stored with care. She had created a space of honor and remembrance, a place that marked her journey and the challenges she had overcome. Among the collection were unique tools, weapons, and tokens representing those she had faced, not out of pride, but out of respect for the path she had walked. Only a few remained unrepresented: Konan, Zetsu, Sasori, Kakuzu, Hidan, and Orochimaru, each for reasons that were personal to her and not for public discussion. Now back in Konoha, Naruko made her way through the village to report to the Hokage. The rings were safely stored in a sealed case, and she had mentally prepared her full report. She suspected Tsunade might have concerns about Konan still being out there, but Naruko would explain that Konan was no longer a threat, and with her former ally's influence gone, peace was possible. As Naruko passed through the village streets, she noticed something peculiar. The atmosphere had shifted, quieter, more reserved. People watched her from a distance, keeping out of her way. It wasn't fear she sensed exactly, but awe mixed with uncertainty. Approaching the Hokage Tower, she noticed a small memorial near the mountain path, flags, messages, and lanterns lit for the fallen members of the councils who had stepped down. The village had clearly gone through its own trials in her absence. I like the new spirit in the air, Naruko said upon entering the Hokage's office, placing the sealed case of Akatsuki rings on the desk before Tsunade. You can thank those in the village who chose a better path, Tsunade replied, giving Naruko a tired but genuine smile. I noticed Sakura wasn't among them, Naruko said softly, sensing the change in the energy of those once close to her. Tsunade nodded, her expression somber. She made her choice. But you've made yours too, and I believe it will lead to something greater. Naruko simply nodded, understanding that the journey ahead still held many chapters. But for now, there was peace. Oh, she definitely made a choice, Tsunade said, her tone calm but thoughtful. She shared some strong opinions about you too. She and her family chose to support the councils, who, as it turns out, were planning to quietly remove you from the picture the moment you returned. They were relying on the few remaining root shinobi to do it. Once I learned about this, I made a firm decision to peacefully dismantle their influence. Those who were taken into custody claimed they were acting in the village's best interest and said you were a threat. The same tired excuses we always hear when it comes to you, she added, watching Naruko let out a soft chuckle. Tsunade knew that small laugh meant she had eased some of Naruko's disappointment. Now all the powers of the Hokage are back in your hands, Naruko said, observing the faint sadness in Tsunade's expression, although there was a glimmer of hope too. I don't suppose you'll reconsider staying and taking my place now that things have settled? Tsunade asked gently, though she already knew the answer when Naruko quietly shook her head. The title may have its influence now, Granny, but the governing roles need to be adjusted. They should assist, not override, the Hokage's authority. As for me, I can no longer call Konoha my home. Even though you've helped remove much of the prejudice and inspired change, my journey leads elsewhere, Naruko said, gathering a small pouch of rings before turning away, not meeting Tsunade's gaze. Would you at least come back and visit sometimes? Tsunade asked, her voice soft, as Naruko paused at the doorway. Maybe one day, when my heart feels at peace. I think Hinata-chan might enjoy visiting her cousin and younger sister once everything settles down, she replied. With that, Naruko stepped out, not waiting for more questions about Hinata's departure. Namikaze Estate, a short while later. Hinata had packed all her things. She stood in the estate's entry hall, ready to go. A shadow clone of Naruko had arrived earlier to say everything was prepared, and now the original had returned. Ready to head out? Naruko asked with a warm smile. Hinata answered by hugging her tightly and gently kissing her mask. I've been ready since the day you left to take down the Akatsuki, Hinata replied, watching Naruko reactivate the security seals. Together, they headed toward the village gates, their destination set, Wave Country, en route to Spring Country, where Princess Koyuki awaited them as honored guests. It was the start of their new adventure. Back at the Hokage Tower. So she's really leaving, huh? Jiraiya said, standing beside Tsunade as they looked out her office window. No goodbyes, no promises to return and help us when we need it? No. That's not her way anymore, Tsunade replied. Naruko's finally walking her own path. For most of her life, we told her which direction to go and never thought that maybe we were guiding her down the wrong road. She looked at her desk, where Hinata's headband lay next to a heartfelt note explaining her decision to follow Naruko. Tsunade smiled gently, missing that youthful kind of devotion. Minato was the same, Jiraiya added with a nostalgic look. It took a while for me to realize that trying to force him to follow my path was only holding him back. He had his own vision, just like Naruko does. Hinata's note said they're heading to Spring Country. Naruko's going to take a leadership role in the shinobi village there, Tsunade said. Makes sense, Jiraiya said with a chuckle. After everything she's accomplished, especially dealing with so many high-level threats, I can't imagine her taking anything less than a cage-level role. It was her dream, after all. I had always hoped she'd take the title of Hokage, Tsunade admitted, a wistful sigh escaping her. That was never going to happen as long as the councils and those holding on to outdated beliefs had sway. Even now, most of the village wouldn't fully accept Naruko, no matter what she's done, Jiraiya said. He noticed the tears in Tsunade's eyes as she tried to remain composed. Fools. All of them, Tsunade muttered under her breath. But I still see hope in the younger generation, and that's what I'll work to protect until my successor is ready. Count me in too, Jiraiya said with a grin. From what I hear, Konohamaru and his friends are full of potential. They look up to Naruko, and they've inherited her determination. I'd be honored to help train them. Just don't teach them any bad habits, Jiraiya, Tsunade warned with a raised eyebrow. I won't hesitate to remind you what happens if you do. Of course not, Tsunade Heim. I'll be on my best behavior, he said quickly, waving his hands innocently. Though, I might treat the boys to a nice dinner if they pass the Chunin exams. Bam! Without a second thought, Tsunade sent Jiraiya crashing through the floor with a single punch. Pervert, she said with a huff. Some things never change. Epilogue, 5 years later. Naruko sat in her office in Yukigakure, finishing the last of her paperwork for the evening. As the Shodaime Ashukage, these administrative duties were part of her daily routine. With her work complete, she left her office and made her way home to her beloved husband, Namikaze Hyuga Hinata. On her way through the village, the residents greeted her with warm smiles and respectful bows. Children waved excitedly, clearly proud to be part of a village led by someone as kind and inspiring as Naruko. Unlike in the Leaf Village, where she once felt overlooked, here in Yukigakure she was truly appreciated. The villagers remembered how she had once protected their princess, now known as the Spring Daimyo Koyuki, and saw her as a true hero. Under Naruko's leadership, the village had formed strong alliances with neighboring villages and nations, leading to a time of great prosperity. But Naruko ensured that her shinobi never grew complacent. Training remained rigorous, with regular evaluations and physical preparation appropriate for each ninja's rank. Even the youngest students in the academy received training that emphasized teamwork and discipline, while learning that the life of a shinobi was about more than just exciting missions. It required wisdom, strength, and responsibility. I'm home, Hinata-chan. Naruko called as she stepped inside her comfortable home, removing her Ashukage cloak. Welcome back, Naruko-chan, Hinata replied warmly. Their 2.5-year-old son, Azriel, came running to her, arms wide with joy. Naruko scooped him up with a soft smile, her heart full at the sight of her family. I missed you both, she said as Hinata leaned in and gave her a gentle kiss. How are your former students doing? Naruko asked curiously. I received some paperwork about them applying to become jounin. They've been visiting, Hinata replied with a proud smile. They often check in, and some even ask to spar with me now and then. They're determined to grow stronger. Naruko chuckled softly. You always did inspire others, she said, brushing a strand of hair from Hinata's face. Hinata blushed slightly at the affection. "You're sweet," she said. "But I must warn you, if we keep spending too much quiet time together, we may end up with another little one." Naruko laughed softly and gave her a playful look. "Well, I wouldn't mind our family growing a bit more. As long as we're together, everything feels just right." Hinata nodded, smiling lovingly. "Then let's make the most of our time. Azriel's ready for bed soon." Naruko nodded, already preparing a shadow clone to help watch over Azriel while the two of them enjoyed some quiet, well-deserved time together. That evening passed peacefully, filled with warmth, laughter, and love. The following weeks brought a gentle joy to the village when it was announced that the Ashokage's family would soon welcome a new addition. All was well in Naruko's world. Dear YouTube family. And just like that, we've reached the final chapter of this fanfic journey. I hope you all enjoyed every twist, turn, and heart-pounding moment along the way. It's been an absolute pleasure sharing this story with each of you. But don't worry, this isn't the end. There's always more content coming your way, so stay tuned for even more exciting adventures, stories, and surprises right here on my channel. If you've loved this series, please give it a like, share it with your fellow fans, and of course, hit that subscribe button so you never miss what's next. A huge thank you for your unwavering support. I couldn't have done it without all of you. Until next time, take care and keep the passion alive. Regards. 6 Path Weeb.